Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling. I shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where we'll be relaxing as per usual. I'm about to head off to a pub quiz, sooner or later. And I was like, oh, do I have enough time to record this? And I was like, yeah, I think I could probably get a quick Animal Crossing episode in. So that's what we're doing right now. But yeah, what are we going to talk about? Well, whatever the final sort of things are left, I would suggest from the Paris trip, which honestly there really is not much left. I don't think, but still. Hello there, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow at 6:10 p.m. on Monday, November 4th, 2024. We have a visitor. I think it's going to be Sandy. Anyway, what was I going to say? I can't remember. I feel like Rivals of Reaper 2 has kind of been on my mind because I've been having like an itch to sort of play it. Like, I had it, like, it's been released for... I don't know how long it's been now. Like, I think it got released basically as soon as I came back from holiday. And I booted it up, like, once. And I'd played it a little bit. And, I've basically just sort of got this itch where I'm like, I kind of want to play it more. But, as with most things in life, time is of a premium. And it's quite hard to figure out how to do that. Find time for it, especially because right now the time I need needs to be focused on not only is there like big moments in D&D sessions coming up, but also thumbnail arts. Like all three of my series I think are ending very, very soon. Like Stray is ending, like the last 2 episodes are coming up this week. Okami's final few episodes I think are gonna be going up, oh that's wrong button, next week. And Talos Principle 2, I think it's still got like a couple months left, but it's starting to get towards the end of it. So it's like, I got to think about these thumbnail arts. The one that I'm doing that follows on from Stray is luckily quite easy. The one following on from Akami is a bit harder, so I need a bit more time for that. But I still haven't gotten around to starting any of them yet. I was meant to start, to be fair, one of them yesterday, but then I didn't. I can't remember. I was doing something else instead, but hey, there we go. Yeah, so time as always at premium. But yeah, I mean, what are we going to talk about today? What do we do after Escarg? Oh, you know what we did? We went to the Cabaret, which I feel like I spoke about a little bit before. I spoke about it with Moulin Rouge, which is basically a cabaret show. A cabaret show which I always thought, in my mind, was always like, had to be risque, when technically it's not. It's technically doesn't have to be, but there is a reason it has that association with it. But as I understand it, a cabaret show is not a musical. I'm talking about the actual. Talking about actual cabarets. It's a form of entertainment which basically compiles a load of different forms of entertainment together, or performance-based entertainment. But it doesn't have to be risque. Often it is for a more mature audience because they're often taking place in like at night time, and with like you can dine, you can drink alcohol usually as well. But it's not traditionally meant to be like a risque or explicit show. It just is more associated with it now because those, I guess, were the more popular ones or something. Or as it says in this Wikipedia article, in the US, striptease, burlesque, drag shows, or solo vocalists with pianists advertising cabarets. So, yeah, which actually surprised me because I was like, I thought cabarets were always like explicit things, but no, apparently not necessarily. They just have a fair and strong association with them, as I understand it. But it's technically like the burlesque part, which is actually the the burlesque, or I guess the striptease part, which is the actual explicit part. But anyway, the long short of it is we went to go see a cabaret show in Paris. And honestly, it was actually a really great time. I thought it was a lot of fun, to be perfectly honest. It was basically just a show, like, from my perspective. You might be like, did you go to the Moulin Rouge? No, because the Moulin Rouge was insanely expensive. We went to a different place. What was it called? It's something called like with something Eve, wasn't it? It's not the last Eve. That doesn't sound right. But it's something Eve. I can't remember. It's in Paris. But there's also but like 2 of us who went by train ended up going via kind of the red light district, sort of, in Paris. I know it's not exactly the same as it's meant to be in like Netherlands. Or to be fair, I've never been to Netherlands, so I don't really know. But apparently, like this region called like Pigalle, I think it's called. So I don't know. Just be careful if you're bringing your kids there or something. Don't know why you're bringing your kids to a cabaret show. But to be fair, this show was also rated like 6+ for a cabaret show. Probably should have been a bit higher. I think I can say there was definite nudity in there. But yeah. Honestly, it was a pretty good time. Nouvelle Eve, that's what it's called. Yeah, so it was very amusing just coming out of a station and just being like, oh, it looks like there's like neon lights, with animated like people, shall we say, explicit wording about the place. But then you walk for a distance and then it's like, it's literally quite small and concentrated, that area. I found it quite amusing, if anything, but your mileage may vary. But the cabaret show itself is actually, quite nice. We didn't have dinner there as well. We just like sat down, we dressed up sort of quite nicely. I actually just like brought like an evening dress in my suitcase along with it, because I was like, I'm bringing like a decently sized suitcase because I don't have like a tiny suitcase. I don't have anything between the tiny suitcase and the suitcase I brought. So I was like, I got space in it. I'll bring in the evening dress. Why not? Just for this night. So I did, did my makeup. No, I didn't actually do anything that fancy. I was particularly say. I think I was a bit lazy with it, but it's my classic go-to evening dress because it's easy to pack and it doesn't crease because of the material. But yeah, we weren't allowed to take photos or videos during the actual cabaret show itself, so I can only sort of audibly describe to you what sort of things happened during it. But it was basically what it was. It was basically an assorted array of different performance arts together. The strongest backbone was basically dancing. There was like a group of, I'm not sure, like 4 men and I'm going to say like 9 women or something, who formed like the backbone of the dancers, who basically had recurring themes of coming back and again and again dancing. They were dancing to like modern, old music, etc, etc. And then interspersed between their backbone of dancing, there were other performances here and there. So, the dancing was pretty good. Like, I'm not going to say I'm not going to be like they're world-class dancers necessarily. I mean, but they are pretty good. Like, honestly, way better than me, so I don't even know. I feel like it's a bit misleading to make that comparison in the first place. By me saying they're not world-class dancers, you immediately think, oh, they must not have been very good. No, they were, like, really good. Still, they were good dancers. They're obviously, like, professionally trained dancers, but I don't want to set up the expectation that I thought these were the best dancers I've ever seen or something. They were just great and entertaining. And there's a lot of sort of like costumes, like the costumes they wear, they're sort of rather revealing, shall we say, which I guess is part of the cabaret show itself. It doesn't leave much to imagination. And I don't know, I mean, you can Google cabaret, you can Google burlesque, you can see the sort of things. It sort of felt like a bit carnival-esque is how I describe it. But the song they sang was something like Paris... what was it called? Paris Je t'aime? If it was like a remix of a song or something, I don't remember. Not a song I've ever heard of before, but it had a very catchy hook, which I can't remember right now, so I guess it wasn't that catchy. So they just like danced around to it, and then they did a lot of other dances. Like I can't remember the acts as they happened in order, but I can remember acts here and there. So the other dancing acts they did, one big one was the can-can one, which a lot of my friends hated, by the way, because it turns out when you dance the can-can dancers basically scream every half a second or so. Like, instead of, you can imagine like yourself dancing and you're sort of hyping yourself up, you're going to go, woo, all the time. They're essentially shrieking, though, the entire time, which I didn't really mind that much. It certainly caught me off guard, because I was like, I didn't know that can-can was so loud in this aspect. But can-can's kind of fun, I suppose. It feels like, I don't know, like amusingly, I suppose, with the openness to, how should we say, the openness to immodesty, I suppose, in modern age. Like how, things are much more accepted on a sliding scale because there can be empowerment and confidence behind it. It doesn't necessarily just need to be something for explicit explicit for explicit sake. Can is quite tame, if anything. It's basically just the women have like these like large ruffled dresses, and they just like sort of dance around, and they like lift up their dresses and stuff like that, which is like, okay. I mean, an art form in its own self. I guess it's kind of like fun in its own right. And they have like these very interesting dance moves, a lot to do with like sort of like hopping and kicking about. And one of the coolest ones actually was where they like stood around in a circle, balanced on one leg, and put like linked arms kind of, while they were basically just like kicking constantly. And I was like, that looks exhausting. The entire show looks exhausting, can I say. But it's meant, like, it very much, like, watching it, I was like, damn, like, if I was in the, I don't know, 1920s or something watching this, I'd be like, oh, how scandalous. But of course, it's very sort of milquetoast compared to some of the things that we see nowadays on social media, right? Even just, like, in official media. Not even, like, social media, but, like, TV shows and movies and that sort of thing. Which is just anything, a reflection of how times have changed, but, it's still nice to preserve this culture, right? What other dances did they do? It's hard to remember them off the top of my head. There's one of them which I thought was quite cool and artistic. They had like these mirrors, quote. It wasn't really mirrors, but it was more like it was almost like, like the dolls and packaging, I suppose is probably how to describe it. Oh yeah, at some point, like during the second dance or whatever, full frontal nudity. Oh no, not full frontal. Full topless nudity is what I'd say. And I was like, whoa, okay, fair enough. And then it was basically, they didn't wear tops for the rest of the night. At least a woman, I suppose. But there was another cool dance which had like these sort of like black straps which like hung through the ceiling, and they like danced around, and like we had these like shutter-esque scenery props. I can't remember a lot of them now, to be honest. But to me, the dancing set itself as a sort of like mental reset in between the different acts, where it's like it's a consistent backbone you can go back to, where you could just be like, oh yeah, they're just sort of dancing. But there were like other acts interspersed in between, which I'll sort of go through now in the remaining 8 minutes or so. The first one, I think this is the first one, was basically a puppet show where someone was dressed as a statue, and then they had like another statue which was basically a head. So like another head, so it was like a statue with two heads, and they basically did like a whole routine of that, which is pretty cool. Definitely feels like it didn't fit the hypeness of the rest of the show, but I thought it was pretty cool. There was a singer who she sang a couple of songs. She sort of like was a recurring act, kind of like the dancers as well. She sang some songs. I don't remember what song she sang. She was also topless at some point, in case that mattered to you. There was a guy who I can only best describe this as like, it was an explicit sort of like nightclub sort of dance, like I think Magic Mike-esque sort of thing, where he basically, he had a bathtub, and he like took off his top, and he was basically just doing, the rings in gymnastics, that routine. He was basically doing routines on the rings or something, well, like diving and swinging around and dipping into the water, throwing the towel into throwing water, splashing in the crowd, and like it was basically just, look at his male eye candy, I guess. There's no other way to describe it. Anyway, he was really good, by the way. Like, very talented. Not even just for the nature of a performance. What else happened? There was like a midway interval thing where the singer came on, and she basically had like audience participation, where she got like 3 guys from the audience to come up on stage. They were all like, I would say like middle-aged men. Like ranging from, I would guess, to like early 30s to someone in like their late 40s maybe. And basically they had a dance competition where she did a dance, and they basically had to copy it. And it was basically whoever won would be whoever got the crowd like wildest. And, the first guy just like did it very normally. He just did his best to put his like own little flair on it and did the dance as per usual. The second guy was, I must say, quite intoxicated. Went on, and then like partway through the dance just like started unbuttoning his shirt and taking off, and the crowd went crazy. And the third guy, fair play to him, was just like, right, how am I going to top this guy who's taking off his shirt? No joke, unbuckled his belt, and then like pulled down his trousers. Not like everything, just like, I guess you see his boxers, and he shook his butt, and I was just like, wow, this is weird. This is like, I guess what you see in a nightclub, except for the age range of, instead of it being like me back in university, and everyone's university age. It's now like the audience ranges from like 20 to 60-year-olds or something. Anyway, that third guy won. He got a t-shirt. Good for him. Hope it was worth it. That's definitely a story his friends are going to bring up all the time. But anyway, one of the best performances actually was this guy who came on. He was the last like special performance that I can record, and he was a juggler. And when he came on, like all me and my friends had the same sort of reaction. It was like, damn, how is this guy gonna like compete with a bathtub man? How is it gonna compete with the audience dancing on the stage? You know, it feels like he has an uphill battle. But actually, he was really hype. What can I say? He was a pretty good juggler, as far as I can tell. Obviously good at juggling, but he was an amazing performer. He like got the crowd going. You know, people just like cheering for him, just like doing some simple juggles here. Well, not simple juggles, some juggles here and there. He also had like this part where he was grabbing like a cowboy hat or something and tossing it out to the members in the audience, and then they had to like toss it back. That was pretty fun. I can't remember what else. Just like I just remember the collective idea that all four of us, when he came on, were just like, how's he gonna compete? And then like afterwards we were all just like, damn, he like competed hard. Like he might have been one of the best ones, to be honest. Maybe the best one. Oh my god, my nose. I felt like my nose has been constantly stuffed within recent times. I forgot what I was going to say. I think that was it, basically. But, yeah, I don't know, Cabaret show. It was a lot of fun, I think. Like, would I recommend someone go? Yeah, I suppose. I mean, definitely, like, check what's actually could turn up in a Cabaret show if you're certainly someone who doesn't want to see nudity or feels like it might not necessarily be for you. Fair enough. I don't think it's going to be for everyone. To me, at the end of the day, it was just a fun performance show, to be honest. I don't think the nudity really contributed much. Like, the sexy sort of aesthetic, I suppose, really only applied, in my opinion, to the bathtub guy. The rest of it was just kind of like, oh, they're dancing and they're topless, I guess. It kind of feels more like an aesthetic choice rather than necessarily a sexual appeal. But I don't know. Your mileage may vary. Depends on your audience. Maybe don't take your kids there, or maybe you do take your kids there. I don't know. I'm not your kids' parents. I was trying to think how to phrase that in a non-weird way. I'm not your child's parents, so you know. Yeah. It's not me advising it. Like it was just me more surprised that the age rating was 6+, and I was like, oh, okay. Like I was like, I can't imagine my parents taking me to this if I was like 7 years old or something, but I don't know. Anyway, long and short of it, that's it. And I'm gonna round this episode off here. I think Cabaret, fun time. Why not? So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.